There are so many reasons to buy your next new car from A.J. Doman Chevrolet, but don't take our word on it. Hear what our customers have to say.
Recently, I purchased my fourth vehicle from A.J. Doman Chevrolet. Why? Because they build relationships here.
Their service team has kept my vehicles running like new, and their sales team has done things for me that I never expected from a car dealership.
A.J. Doman Chevrolet, serving the area for over 38 years, at the foot of the Morgan City Bridge in Berwick.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Facebook, YouTube coverage. And we look back at the year 2024. And how about a look at August?
Yeah, we made quite the discovery in the last couple of weeks as we were investigating reported possible sexual abuse involving a couple in the cutoff area. We ended up arresting 34-year-old Jordan Terrio and 33-year-old Jenny Terrio. This is a husband and wife from the cutoff area. And as you see, there is a laundry list of charges that they are facing, including 2 counts of first-degree rape on Jordan's end, 2 counts of principal of first-degree rape on Jenny's end, and then both facing charges like pornography involving juveniles, and that would be production of pornography involving juveniles, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. We found 14 firearms in the residence when we were conducting a sweep. You see the picture here, along with a large amount of ammunition, as well as drugs, and a variety of drugs at that, Valium, Xanax, morphine, marijuana. So obviously we acquired the search warrants, pending the sexual abuse allegations, and in reference to that investigation, and it just uncovered a large amount of, like I said, firearms and ammunition and drugs that we were able to also tie to them. So now they're facing, like you saw, a number of charges, but the most significant of which is 2 counts of first-degree rape. You see here Jordan Terrio. Jordan is ultimately the one involved that is charged directly with 2 counts of first-degree rape. Jenny is charged with principal to first-degree rape. However, as far as the courts are concerned, they treat the charges the same. So as far as penalties and things of that nature, both essentially face those very serious charges.
Y'all have made a lot of arrests over the years. Y'all do a great job of taking care of the community. But when we get to these types of crimes, and we've reported on, a handful of these over the years, but this one's incredibly intense. It's got a lot of things to it. It's got a lot of weapons with it. Have you ever seen something quite like this? This one seems extreme to me.
Yeah, this is a lot different than, our typical arrest. It's not uncommon for us to have drug-related investigations, especially narcotics agents, to go to a house looking for drugs and find large sums of money, stockpiles of weapons and ammunition. But this one just kind of doesn't fit that mold, right? We were investigating for a rape case, and actually it started as just a sexual abuse case, and we found evidence of rape and other charges. So, when you're investigating something like that and juvenile detectives are on the case, when they execute a search warrant at a residence, this is, it's not uncommon to find guns at a residence, Martin, especially in South Louisiana, and not ammunition either. But in this case, you have 2 convicted felons who had no legal right to possess any of these firearms. So that was the first red flag, but also just the sheer large amounts of ammunition. So obviously, and again, you see the picture here, just a huge cache of weapons and ammo while we're investigating a sex abuse case. So certainly this one is still quite under investigation, and officials or investigators are still trying to kind of unpack this one and put the pieces together.
I'll never forget representing people all along this coast and how important these projects are. And so I have watched CIPRA in action since that particular time. And I've watched Tony and Gordy and many, I could go down the list that he named right here. And these are people that care as much about their community and their country and their coast as I've ever seen. They are absolutely committed to seeing these kinds of projects put in place.
just a few words. I think most of you guys know what this project is going to do. This project is the linchpin of the entire system and everything we've worked on building. The Gulf is right there. The salt water has been pouring in this canal and going to Houma. And if you get in a boat and you go to Houma with a boat, you'll see all those dead cypress trees on the side of the canal, and the canal expanding and just eroding, and it's pretty relentless. It's amazing. I thought they were embellishing it at one time until you get in a boat and you actually go look at that. This project will stop that from happening. At the same time, the fresh water that comes out of the intercoastal just flushes through this parish in an open gate and just flushes out of the parish. You got a wall now that fresh water will hit that wall, and it will spread throughout the entire system and its tributaries. And the other thing that it'll do, we still get calls when there's a severe south wind. We can't operate this thing like a normal floodgate. There's certain criteria we have to meet before we can open and close it. And you don't want to stifle commerce.
There's too many people in here to thank. I mean, this was built in 2013, and it's protected us against about 8 or 9 storms, hurricanes, and Morton Falls has been there every step of the way. And we haven't flooded a house. We haven't flooded since Barry, and that was only 11 homes. In Rita, we flooded 11,000 homes in 2005. So we've come a long way.
Governor, what a great day. You talked about, in so many words, having skin in your own game, and here in this area, we have a lot of skin in our own game, but you've hit the ground running. I've covered many governors, but when you hit the ground running, you didn't waste any time in getting people ready and putting people in action to complete the whole state, not just Terrebonne and Lafourche. What was driving that mentally for you?
Well, I think, Martin, we've seen it. We've known each other for a long time. I think this is a great day for you and all of the people at Terrebonne, and actually the people of Louisiana, like you said. We don't have any more time to sit around and wait and think and try to figure it out. We know that every other state around us is bringing more people in than are leaving, and Louisiana is just not in that position. So we've got a great team in the legislature, and they've worked real hard, and we're going to continue to work hard until we get it right here in Louisiana. That's the commitment that I've made to the people for the last 4 years, and that's what we intend to do.
Yeah, you've carried that passion, and like you said, I've hung around Gordy and Tony. We've sort of seen this coming for a long time, but it never moved this quick. What did you see in them? Because obviously you're a governor with a lot of passion. You've always had a lot of energy, but you've surrounded yourself with people that have a lot of energy.
Well, exactly. And look, one of the reasons that I chose Gordy was because of his sheer determination to see projects through. He was a bulldog in the legislature and representing Terrebonne Parish when he was parish president. Same thing. And of course, Tony's passion, is unquestionable. And so between them, and look, we put a great cabinet together as well, and we are committed to actually seeing things happen. I think that people start to believe in their government again when we actually fulfill the promises that we make, and they see the fruits of their labor. Again, today, this is great. This is a culmination of the sacrifices, the sweat and the treasure that the people of Terrebonne Parish, the state and the federal government, to make this project happen.
Well, we're leaking some news today because Colonel Jones sort of whispered that the next person that takes his place will be from Terrebonne Parish, and we just heard y'all say it. There is a good God in there.
There is. I don't know exactly who it is, but we know that they rotate him, and I can tell you, Colonel Jones has been a welcome. Many of the members of Congress have seemed to work with him. It's tough. A lot of times, sometimes he has to be the bearer of some bad news that mostly comes out of Washington, and that's why I messaged him was to go back to Washington and tell him the great story of the great people down here and the great culture that we're trying to preserve. And certainly having a colonel in charge of the Corps who is actually from this area will be just, I can't think of anything better. And I hope it gets to stay for as long as the people will leave me in the governorship.
We got Tony Alford, the president of the Levee District. Of course, Reggie Dupree, who I bet before he can never retire. And, he ain't going nowhere. Yeah, he ain't going nowhere. But Tony, we'll start with you. What a wonderful day talking with the governor. He's so excited. I told him I've covered many governors, in our years at HTV, but never one that hit the ground running so quickly. He just put people in place, and he's rolling. Man, that's good to see.
It's great to see, Martin. I mentioned it when I was introducing him. The thing I like best about him is he stands behind the people that he appoints, and he stands in front of the bus. He makes a lot of the decisions, and he says, I made the decision. And I like that a lot, He's pretty solid, and he's letting us move the coast forward. And I'm real excited to be part of not only the local levee board, but also the state, and to be able to do some of the things that we've done here on the state coast and fix some of those areas that don't have this yet, So.
And I do want to say we were trying to find Angela, but she is running around all over the place. We're going to try to catch it. Oh, we're waving her in right now. And Reggie, while we're waving her in, these new devices that drive these sheet piles are incredible, aren't they?
Yes, they are. I mean, very, very quiet. It's not even a vibratory hammer. I don't know how it works. It just pushes down on the
hydraulics.
Hydraulics, yes. I've never seen that before, and that's a game changer.
All right, we found Angela. And what a great day. And I know you hide behind the scenes a lot, and you orchestrate a lot of things. But how proud are you of what took place today? And the governor came down, and if we ever heard a confirmation from a governor about how committed they are to making this work, we heard it today, and I know that made you proud.
It did. It made me very proud. Today's a wonderful day for Terrebonne, a wonderful day for the levee district and our community, our economy. I'm super proud to be here. I never thought I would see it in my 23 years of working here, so I'm just extremely grateful and proud to be here today and happy to be a part of all of it.
And I think the key part of this whole thing, which I took from it, maybe y'all's a little different, is the fact that the rain in the yards. I mean, you have talked many times when people call up and just call the station up and they go, man, we had all kind of water in our yard. I said, like you, how much have you had in your house? Well, no, it didn't get to the house. Okay, we had 11,000 homes flood way back in the day for Rita and all, but progress, I think is what we're seeing.
One brick at a time. It's taken us a long time to get here. We still have a good ways left to go, right? To get these levees up to the certified height. It's going to take some time, but now when a storm's coming, we feel pretty good about having a chance to not have houses flood. And, as we go forward, it's one brick at a time. I can't wait till this project. It's going to take about 4 years to construct this thing. But in the process, those south winds that put water in everybody's yards, that's going to start cutting back. That's going to start not happening as much. And so we went from the houses to the yard to the ditch, and maybe not even that eventually, right?
Yeah, we're going to be bored on HTV trying to look for something. We're going to have to put a dome over for the wind, right? Yeah. But just a very good day, and to see the kind of equipment we have out here and to see the commitment. But Gordy, as a CPRA chairman, it's like I told the governor. I said, I've covered many governors, but I never saw a governor hit the ground running so quickly. And I commended him for being energetic, but I said, I also commend you for hiring very energetic people to head your boards, and you're one of them. He compared you like the pit bull, and then Tony like a Rottweiler or whatever. But I think he's right. It takes that mentality to get it done.
Yeah, Martin. We've got to move everything quickly. We can't get stalemated. This lock system took 10 years. We should have been under construction in 3 or 4 years, but it's the bureaucratic system of the federal monies, and I'm not blaming anyone, of course, but it's just the way the monies work, and these are BP fine monies that had to go through the Treasury and through the different trustees and all. And the trustees, it's not their fault. The problem is it's just the system that's set up. So we try to cut through the red tape, get Barry Islands done, get more levee systems done, and actually we're going to move into more drainage pertaining to the levee systems. And and Governor Landry wants us to expedite it, and of course I'm for expediting it, and we're going to move fast. And we still have 7 years of BP money funding, plus we have some other funding streams that we're going to use as we progress along. But we got a very robust plan to move forward with a lot of barrier island work, segmented breakwater rocks, and protect the island, protect Terrebonne, and Terrebonne from Cameron, Terrebonne to St. Bernard Parish, Plaquemines and Lafourche.
So you'll be ready. And one guy that doesn't get a lot of credit too is the man standing next to you, David Rabelais. Always had great ideas, always was pushing the envelope a little bit, and he likes to sit in the back of the crowd when these things go on. But I want to thank you too for what you do, and you do a great job, David. And this is another big day for Terrebonne.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for saying that, Martin. I appreciate it. This structure right here is it's the linchpin of the deepening. Okay, once this is finished, we're gonna start deepening. Well, we got to still load the pipelines, but that's the goal. And without this, we can't deepen. Right. So I learned from this man a long time ago. You never take no for an answer. Okay, because that's what first thing they tell you always is no, and you got to keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing, and it ends up you may have to compromise a little bit, but you end up getting it done, and that's what this guy taught me.
Martin, when you go from 15-foot navigable to 20-foot navigable, you bring in bigger vessels, more jobs for the people of Terrebonne Parish, and it's more for the industry, more for commerce. And 5 feet is a lot. It's the difference between a vessel coming to do the work in Terrebonne and going to another port.
Yeah. Your thoughts on today, because this is just once again proof that when the people of Terrebonne Parish tax themselves, we took it pretty seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. I just ran into somebody that I started working on this project with 20 years ago that works for Restore Council, and it just kind of gives you some perspective of how long we've actually been trying to get this done. And really until Gordy got where he was and we had the right people in place where we were able to get the money and the funding that we needed to do this. So
we all had black hair when all this started.
I was in my 20s, and now I'm not going to say how old I am, but yeah, it's just amazing, wonderful. It's a dream, something I never thought we'd see. So just an honor to be here today and to celebrate with everybody. And I think somebody said it earlier, it's not done yet, so my job's to make sure it gets constructed, so that's definitely on my mind. So.
The three of the bricklayers here, like we talked about, laying the bricks, 3 of them here. Just a great day in Terrebonne Parish, and we're going to keep reporting. As long as they keep building, we're going to keep reporting, and I hope it's not too long from now when we keep reporting, but as long as they're building things of this nature, we'll be bringing it to you. Richard, what a great day, and God, I was so glad to hear that you were recognized in front of everybody, because your crew and the way you've grown is unbelievable, and to see, I was mesmerized to see how they drive polys now, and that's incredible equipment. It's expensive equipment, but it's what y'all do. And what's this day mean to you?
It's just been a great chance to showcase what we can do and be a part of the biggest project here, in the local area. Like the governor said, this is the last piece of the puzzle that goes in, that we'll have a complete system, a closed system with the Section A being started also. And this will allow so many things, not just protection, but for the ecosystem, for the freshwater reintroduction or additional freshwater to be pushed around here in this area, commerce to go through, additional flood protection. It's amazing with the plans that they have. Basically, all of the things that we built to 11 feet and then to 15 feet are now going to 23 feet to really give protection to the people of Lafourche, Terrebonne, and adjacent parishes.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
Well, upstairs at HTV, we were very happy to see our Governor Jeff Landry, and his wife Sharon, the First Lady, as they attended the Marine Corps' Purple Heart Dinner. This is a very prestigious dinner that is held each and every year, and this year we were asked at HTV if we would donate our facilities. And of course, the answer is yes, we'd be glad to. Well, the governor of the state of Louisiana addressed the Purple Heart recipients at their special dinner. Let's listen in.
First of all, I really want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to all of the veterans. I want to say welcome home to all of the Vietnam veterans. As I look out, and Sharon and I got an opportunity to visit with some of y'all. It's been a kind of a crazy day that I hadn't finished yet. I was reminded that when I first came to Houma, and I was running for Congress, I remember meeting Mr. Peter Bourgeois, who was a World War II veteran, who took me under his wing and brought me around and really helped me out. In fact, his wife, I think she turned, I don't want to make any older than she is. I'll get in trouble. She might have been turned like 94, but a couple of weeks ago, I sent her some flowers and some balloons. She called me to say she doesn't make any more cakes anymore. I said, well, I'll bring you a cake. Don't worry about it. And of course, as we look around, we see that there are very, very few World War II veterans left, because that generation is passed, and now it's passing on to the next group of Korean and Vietnam veterans out there. And, so much of this country does not understand the sacrifices that you all have given. When you think about it and you talk about those that have served, it's one thing to serve, but then to receive a Purple Heart means that you've sacrificed even more. But I also know that if you've been in combat, you probably have seen someone, or many more, that you loved and were friends with that did not make it home. And I can tell you, it's one of the things that drives me each and every day to make sure that the sacrifices that every one of you have made for this country shall never, ever be in vain. I'd be remiss if I didn't get an opportunity to introduce y'all to Dr. Buller. I think, did he leave yet, Doc? He is our Undersecretary of the State Veterans Affairs, and we're doing some special things. I want y'all to know that. We are going to fulfill our commitments to our veterans. In fact, Dr. Buller, for the first time now, and I may have got that wrong, make sure you keep me in line, we have dual tasked the Undersecretary to handle the health care matters of veterans in Louisiana as well, because I think that's important as well. I have seen personally, at my time in Congress, in dealing with veterans issues and dealing with the VA, and we've got some great people on the ground in the VA. Sometimes I think the ones up in Washington are in a cloud somewhere. But we want to make sure that the promises that this country has given y'all are going to be fulfilled. And so, as we think about today and Purple Heart Day, and I was looking up some statistics, and I realized that, quite frankly, it was shocking that over 1.8 million soldiers have received the Purple Heart. I mean, think about that for a second. Since George Washington gave the first one, 1.8 million Americans stood out and gave a piece of themselves for this country, and I thank you for doing what you're doing today.
Governor, we have this plaque that the Marine Corps League made for you that we really appreciate you being here tonight, and we thank both of you for coming.
Oh, what? I want you to know that I had one of these K-bars, probably when I wasn't supposed to.
A Purple Medal, a badge of honor, a badge of military merit for wounds received and lives lost, given to those who gave themselves so others could be saved. A Purple Medal, a sword and a shield, deflecting the bullet or the bomb, diverting the hurt meant for other bravery without thinking first of themselves. A Purple Medal worn over the heart, a medal that is a shield, either keeping our memories from coming out or blocking those memories from getting inside. Purple Medal, is it enough? by itself to reward the hero, not by itself. It takes comrades, government, citizens, all to speak in one voice, to speak the words loud and clear. Thank you, brave soldier. A purple medal. Let's take a moment to think about the cost of earning the purple medal that hangs over the heart. If your tradition is to pray, and a prayer for those who earn the Purple Heart, if your tradition is to respond by doing something, reach out to a veteran or their families and let them know you care. If your tradition is to simply say thank you, then give thanks. In the silence, let us each reflect on the meaning of the Purple Medal to us. To the millions of veterans who have earned the Purple Heart, we say thank you. To the millions of family members who live with the injured or with the memory of the lives once lost, we say thank you for your sacrifice. To the millions of personal, yet to be added to their numbers, we say thank you. May all these veterans be thankful for their courage, fearlessness, and commitment to those with whom they served. And many blessings be upon the recipients of the Purple Heart. In God's name, amen.
Martin Falls, can you please come up to the front? Martin, we appreciate you having this venue for us. This was beautiful. Look, we've been doing it at Dominique's place for several years, and before that we did it at a couple other places. This is absolutely beautiful. So we'd like to just present with you this plaque. Hopefully you'll hang it somewhere in appreciation for letting us host this event over here. We sure thank you.
I really appreciate this, and it's good to see. I mean, I grew up with a military dad who was in, as you can see, I have his picture all over. He served in World War II in Korea. But just to hear y'all stories and to see y'all, God, it touches my heart to see all that. But thank you from the bottom of our heart, and I'm glad y'all could come upstairs until the governor brings you to the mansion. That's going to be a good thing. And I'm also glad to see that we have a sheriff involved and a parish president who really believes in military. I mean, without people in local government believing in military, we don't have a city. We really don't. But this is big-time military city. Thank y'all from the bottom of our heart. We appreciate it. Thank you. I want to bring the sheriff up. Sheriff, come tell that story. My dad and his dad were pretty good friends and went to Laurel Grove. Well, grew up in Laurel Grove, and I never knew this about my father till the sheriff told me this story one day, so I want you to hear from him.
So my dad, if y'all knew my dad, he could be an honorary old fella, but he was World War II in Korea. He says, you know that guy on TV, that Martin Falls guy? Me and his dad went to high school, but we got busted because we stole some oranges. And he said, so one of the teachers that was at the school, he said they were about 9th, 10th, they were young. They jumped the fence and they took some oranges. And that school said, oh, I think we busted. Teacher said, y'all come here. Said, next time, use the gate and only take what you're gonna eat. And that was it, true story.
And so that I never knew that about my dad because he never volunteered that story. So if any of y'all knew my dad and have any more stories like that, I'd love to hear them.
But the thing is, 7 years have passed, so he's behind the statute of limitations. I couldn't charge him with anything.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
We're
going to spend some time with Lafourche Parish and their sheriff's office. The Captain Brennan Mathern is with us now. We're going to talk a little bit about a scam that's been going on. And look, it's one of those things where almost everybody's orbit, everybody's world, there's somebody, a grandparent or somebody older that has been affected by this. The scammers will get in people's emails, or they'll get online and they'll tell them something's wrong, and they'll take over their computers, and then they take over their possessions. And you guys had a case that actually the victim wanted to help you guys raise awareness, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Harry, thanks for having us. This was a unique circumstance where Miss Louise Soulier from Thibodeau actually reached out to us. She initially reported the incident to us where she lost over $31,000 to these scammers. And in just a couple of transactions, this occurred. And the unique thing about this one that we haven't talked a lot about was that it occurred through a cryptocurrency ATM machine. We've had incidents before where people have wired money through electronic wire service, or people have bought gift cards. But this seems to be the new route that scammers are using to potentially lure people in and take their money away, is through using these cryptocurrency ATMs, which we do have some here in Lafourche Parish.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know about those, but I've seen them when you walk in and you're going, wow, you can buy Bitcoin here. Those are legitimate, but it's the purpose that the scammers use in the Bitcoin, because it's hard to trace. It's not going through a bank where they can stop it. So it's actually a conduit to these crimes.
And just like with purchasing gift cards or wiring money, once you've sent the money, it now belongs to someone else. It's now, once someone has access to that funding, it's now out of your possession and out of your control, and you've willingly given your money away, essentially what it's. So it's yes, someone has stolen it, but they've convinced you to willingly give it away, which makes it nearly impossible for us to recover as law enforcement.
Yeah, so Ms. Soulier really wanted to help out, and you guys have filmed, almost a public service announcement where it shows what happened to her, and she's agreed that we can show this, right?
Yes.
Okay, here's the video.
It started on my computer. I was on Facebook, and I was just looking at pictures, and I found a story, and I started reading it in that area. So I clicked on the little boldface read more ... When I did, there was a flash. It said Microsoft Security, and it had the little Microsoft symbol on it, and it also said to call the number for assistance. Well, that's where I made my mistake. They were pretty sure that some of my funds had been compromised. He kept me on the phone the entire time. He asked me to keep the phone on when I went to the first bank, that he was recording everything from my phone. He had me go to my savings account and told me that the FBI thought that I should take a large amount out of there also. And I realized, I think at that point, something is just not right here.
Yeah, look, and she's courageous for coming forward, and you guys did a great job with that video. But that's exactly what these people, and look, these scammers are all around the world, and they can work all day long. And a lot of times, the scammers are even victims a lot of times. I know there's certain areas where they almost capture the people, take their visas, and then make them do this all day long. So it is a worldwide network, and it can happen in Thibodeau, Louisiana.
Well, and the key here, the takeaway, Harry, for everyone watching this and anyone that's seen the video is to recognize the signs of a scam. And in the case of Ms. Soulier, again, this started on her computer. She clicked on a link off of Facebook, which is something a lot of us do probably, dozens of times every day. But when you click on that link and stuff starts popping up on your computer, that your computer's been taken over or that a virus has been launched, could that be the case? Sure. but you can't rely on the information that's being provided to call a number and have it resolved. Like any other situation, even if it's someone that's calling you on a phone or someone that's emailed you, our suggestion is if you think something's legitimate, you go find a number elsewhere. You look up a number for that entity that you need to call and then contact them. Same thing if the sheriff's office, somebody calls saying they're from the sheriff's office and they have a warrant. Okay, hang up with that person and then you call us and then we'll let you know the truth. Could it be true? It could be. Somebody could have uploaded a virus to your computer, but ultimately you don't want to contact the numbers that are being shown on the screen. That's the biggest issue here. So again, yes, while this has new elements to it with the cryptocurrency ATM, Harry, the bottom line is it's showing classic signs of a scam. The thing I would caution you is even if you have, especially with grandparents or parents that are older in age, and you think that, look, they're too smart to fall for this. Look, Masulia has 3 college degrees. And look, a lot of us watching the video are probably saying like, oh, well, I wouldn't have done that or I would have done this. I'm telling you, I've seen in many victims' houses of scams. And while from the outside looking at it seems obvious, when you're in that position, sometimes it can be very difficult to tell that something's a scam. You need to have conversations with your relatives, especially anyone older that isn't as used to technology, to make sure they understand to contact a trusted friend or family member before they ever start talking to people they don't know.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Bayou Time. I'm Martin Faust, and joined by my good buddy Harry McCullough. And today we're going to talk about the passing of Ed Daniels, who was certainly, in a journalistic realm, one of the best sports journalists to ever come through this area. And Harry, not only at HTV, but Harry did his stint in New Orleans, and I think it was around 8 years you spent with Ed?
About 8 years, like 96 to like 03 and around that range, So, yeah, we spent a lot of time together, and how TV is. We probably spend more. We spoke every day by phone. Mm-hmm. We probably spend more time together than we did our families, and we were real close. And he was a good dude. I hate to see him go. Man.
He was one of those first guys, Harry, that when you went home in the New Orleans station, who dominated, like the Bill Elders, the Golden Robinets, the Angela Hill. But Ed Daniels would always find time to come to the little guys at the time.
Right.
And say, hello, Martin, how's it going? Or hello, Hillary, or hello, whoever was on the thing.
Right.
Always found time. Some of them other guys would huddle up a little bit, wouldn't do much. He always found time for the common person.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And he knew the region. And that was his passion, right? Look, he covered the Saints, he covered LSU, he covered the Pelicans. But he loved high school football, and he loved high school sports in general. But we like to catch him like there should never be a player come through Southeast Louisiana that goes on to be something that we didn't do a story on when he was in high school. And that was a big emphasis of what we did. But Ed really meant it. I used to always joke to him because at the time, I was from the Bayou, and at the time I lived on the North Shore, and I'm like, dude, all you care about is the Catholic League. You care about Jesuit and Rommel, and that's all you care about. I said, we're the black hole. We actually see the light coming in from TV stations. All we do is follow you guys, but nothing ever comes out. We used to say, going down to the black hole this week. So, it was more of a joke, but he took it seriously. Actually, is like, yeah, I know all these people are watching, and they have athletes too, and he really did try to. He came to Houma all the time. He would call me every time he came to Houma. Hey, Makulo. He'd call me Makulo. That was an inside joke too. He said, what's going on down the bayou? Let me know what's happening. So he always wanted to do that on the North Shore and on the bayou more than just covering.
And that was
the
a big
League.
Because we did the game of the week at HTV. It was the HTV radio phone game of the week,
right,
where we specialized in one game.
Right.
But he was carving out parts of all the games.
Yep.
And we have some footage actually where me and you were at Vanderbilt Catholic one year, and Ed and all of them were throwing it to us on the field. And there's a young Harry McCullough, and you're about to see a young Martin Faust, but there's Ed throwing it to you. Yeah. You were doing a story at Vanderbilt.
Martin, I hate to say this. This was 1998. This was our 20th homecoming game, right? So That was the 20th year of our homecoming. That's 98. So now that's like 38 years ago. So
we could still play.
But yeah, you and I, we actually, you were my guest, and we talked about it. So yeah, I was trying to do my part to get to buy you a little light down here. But yeah, Ed always took that seriously, and high school sports was a big deal, and which it was to us too, right? So that's how we came up. We could name all the dudes that were from New Orleans. Right. We knew 4K, we knew Tommy Wilcox, we knew all those guys. They didn't know me or you, they probably didn't know Bobby Hebert, but we knew all those guys from New Orleans because it was so important to us.
Yeah, they were. But Ed Daniels had a way of, he had a seriousness about him that when he sat down to cover something, whether it was the Manning camp or whatever, he was meticulous.
Yeah. And that's what I want to say. Look, it's not about us. It's about Ed. Ed was a journalist with a capital J. I mean, that dude was a journalist. He loved inside scoop. He loved calling agents. He loved calling general managers. He was inside sources, all of that stuff. And I was almost total opposite. I really liked, let me go live and let me do highlights, right? But he loved that part of the game, and he really was, and he always a straight shooter. He wasn't, no agenda, but he wasn't going to kiss booty either, right? He would call the Saints out. He would call LSU out when he had to, and a lot of people thought he was negative, but he just wasn't a sunshine pumper, as they say.
I remember when you were in New Orleans and I'd go cover the Saints, and we'd get together and chit chat. After, when Jim Moore would have his press conference, Swoboda would send Moore in orbit. But Ed Daniels always had a tough question, but he presented his question a little more nicer and to the point than Swoboda would.
Right. Well, Swoboda would, and I love Ron too, but he would make a statement and then expect an answer from it, right? Boy, look, Jim Everett really sucked tonight, right? And then expect an answer from Jim Moore. So Ed would never do that. And like Ed would loved high school football. So Fridays was big. We'd do a show until midnight. Then on Saturday, he'd go to the LSU games. He'd cover LSU. Then you come home. That doubleheader between a night game at Tiger Stadium and then a day game at the Dome was a quick turnaround, and he'd be there too. And we'd be, getting ready for another show or something. That guy worked a lot, man. But I mean, integrity. Journalist, like I say, with a capital J, and just a really good guy. His only fault might have been he cared too much. Because 67, man, when I think of that, Martin, we're looking at it now. It's like, man, take care of yourself, enjoy it a little more. Later on in his life, he started traveling with his wife. He would schedule time off. Like, he scheduled his vacation. They went to Europe. They had a little vacation house in Florida. He was doing actually a pre-training camp vacation with his wife when she found him in the hotel room in California. So I think towards the end of his life, he did finally realize, I got to smell the roses a little bit. I got to take some time. So I'm comforted in the fact that I think he was a little happier with himself towards the end of his life.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
Building certainly is beautiful, but I think I always say that what happens inside the building is where the magic really happens. And this building does represent a collective effort on behalf of so many people in our community. And I want to share a little bit about that with you this morning as we go through our program. But first, I think it's important, we like to talk about what's our why. And our why for this building comes from some tremendous growth that we are seeing here at Fletcher Technical Community College. I am excited to announce that we just finished some of our year-end reports. Last year, our enrollment growth here at the institution was 18%. 18% enrollment. And in fact, beyond that, we issued over 2,200 credentials to individuals within our community that help them move their lives to upskill, to reskill, to find that new job. And we are exceptionally proud not only of all the students we educate, but especially those, right, where they have completed that credential that earns them the opportunity to go to the next phase of their life. And we are very thrilled to be able to do that. This morning, I shared with a few people, I'll share with you, all right? I was a little excited and nervous about this morning. And so I started thinking about the building. Okay. Although we're in a nursing building, we got you. But as I was laying in bed last night, I started thinking about today. And to be honest, I rewrote the entire script, much to my team's dismay. But what I wanted to really speak to this morning is the story of this building. Because we can celebrate, we're going to cut a ribbon, and you're going to see some magnificent facilities, state-of-the-art facilities that have been constructed here. But again, kind of going back to our why and how this building came to be, because it has been a long time coming. Many of you in this room were involved from the very initial stages of this. But I thought about this building really as a story. And each of the individuals who has joined me up on the stage this morning represents a portion or a chapter in the story. And so I am very excited to hear from each of them as they speak to how this building came to be. So I want to kick it off, with, as any good story does, with once upon a time. Once upon a time, there was a supervisor or board of supervisors who recognized that our community colleges had tremendous needs around the state for new facilities and new investment. We were seeing early enrollments, we were seeing a heightened interest in technical and community college education, and they had the vision to develop a path to get these new facilities done.
The legislature saw fit to enact a program that allowed us to build facilities like this around the state using what we call alternative financing means. We created a private not-for-profit corporation. That private not-for-profit corporation has sold close to $600 million in bonds to build facilities like this around the state. One of the first ones that was built is the front building up here, which now, if you've been around, has been around for about 10 to 12 years at least. So that was one of the first buildings of the program. This building got to be one of the last ones. There's only 3 left, including this one. There's one in Nunez and Chalmette that we just dedicated a couple of weeks ago, and we had another one in Delgado. It's been a very, very, very successful program for us to deliver facilities like this to educate students around the state. As Christine mentioned, I got volunteered to be the chairman of that corporation some time ago. And to me, it's kind of amazing to see these things get implemented around the state. One of the nuances of the program that we have now is we mandate that our institutions partner with their communities to build these facilities. We require a local match. We require our chancellors, their leadership teams to go into the community and make them invest with you. Before you can tap into the program that I just described, this institution had to go into the community and get 12% of the dollars from local matches, okay? And as we transition that over the years, I think that's a wonderful thing because it makes everybody in this room become investors in this facility to buy in, and it creates a mandate to the chancellor and her team to perform because your investors are at Rouse's every day with you. Your investors are at the subway across the street and they want to see you perform. So to me, I think that's been a very good thing.
When Terrebonne General was first approached several years ago by the one and only Tim Mallon, who was a board member and is now the board chairman, and approached Oshner as well, it really wasn't a difficult decision to agree to support the expansion of a nursing and allied health program. It made absolute sense for us to support an organization that was already growing and thriving in the community. We knew in the long run it would feed Terrebonne General and Chabert and other healthcare organizations in the region with eventual qualified employees. I want to thank our board members of Terrebonne General, of Oshner, and of Fletcher Technical Community College, as well as all of the officials who assisted in making this partnership happen. We're very excited for the students from the region and others to have such a fine institution available to them. We're proud of the work that Fletcher has done to bring education resources that are specifically needed for the area, which is one of the many important steps to keeping our young people here working and living, which is certainly an issue as we see people leaving the state. Doing these types of things keeps our young people here in the state and in our community.
You might have read a story on the internet about a guy named Harold Scheffler who discovered new land in Louisiana outside of Morgan City. In fact, Harold was hoping to even name it Harold Island, if you read the story and all. Unfortunately for Harold, that is not the case. So let's go to Morgan City. And Raymond McWade is the executive director of Morgan City Harbor and Terminal District. This one boater thought he found land, but it's land that you guys have been building for 10 years, right, Mac?
That is a true statement, a true story, yes.
So,
this is not a surprise. I was shocked when you told me about this. I'm trying to think, where's this new island at? We've been working on it for 10 years.
So tell me about this island, and it really is it's going to be a big island, and it's something you guys have planned to do. You put it where you wanted it to do, and it's to be a barrier island for storms and those things.
Yes. Harry, just real quick, a lot of people had something to do with this island. First of all, Clay Higgins, our congressman, got us money from the federal government, Corps of Engineers, Wildlife Management, because this is out there in the Delta. We just don't go pump willy-nilly anywhere. They tell us exactly where they want this material to go. And X marks the spot, and 10 years ago, we started pumping in this area. It's on the Chapala River Channel, which from Morgan City to the sea buoy is 40 miles, and about 20 miles of that is Gulf. We've got barrier islands. We've had barrier islands out there. There's about 7 or 8 of them. This is another one we've built out there. But this island has been in the works for 10 years. We might pump 10 years ago, we started pumping on it. We might have missed a year. Then the next year when we had a dredging cycle, we went and pumped again. We might have missed another year, but then we had a dredging cycle and we kept growing the island. So it was underwater. And about 2 years ago, it was maybe 6 inches underwater, but you could see the outline, the drone footage. It almost looked like the moon. Mm-hmm. It hadn't broke the surface. And this past year, we had 2 cutterhead dredges working out there in the bar channel and in our channel. And that material was all pumped, 2 of them at the same time, pumped to this island. And we broke the surface probably 7-8 months ago. Barely, I mean, maybe 6 to 8 inches above the surface, but it was above the surface. We're not finished. You can see the outline. You can only see a little bit of it. It's kind of like an iceberg, only the tip sticking up right now. But when you look at the light colored water around it, it extends a half a mile this way, a half a mile. It's huge. It's going to be big.
And it's going to be full of pelicans
it's already full of pelicans, all of that. And vegetation's going to grow on it. And what I like to say, Harry, one thing about it, not one white boot will have to go down there and plant anything. This material is so rich, it will vegetate itself all over the island. Now, we're not through with that island. We're going to have to pump on it till we get it up to about 3 feet. That may take us another 6, 7, maybe 10 years to get that island to come on up. But it's going to be stable. But in the meantime, the animals, the birds, the fish around it, they like it. But this didn't happen overnight. People act like it's like a crop circle. Overnight, all at once it got this big market. No, I was a little confused.
Yeah, poor Harold. He's not going to get an island named after him. So it's a great story. But look, this is one of the 2 areas in the world or in the United States where we're growing land right now.
Listen, this is not bragging. It's just stating the facts. We have the only 2 growing deltas in America within 5 miles of each other. We have the Wax Lake outlet, which the Wax Lake, we get the 30% of the flow off the Mississippi that comes down the Chafalaya, and we divert 30% of the Chafalaya down the Wax Lake outlet. through Calumet Cut. That has developed over the last 50, 60 years. There's about 15 to 20,000 acres that's been created that nobody touched it, no dredging, no nothing. But then when you look at the Chaffalaya River, that's where when you look at it, how green it is, we have created 30, 40,000 acres of land down there. That's our barrier islands. That protects us from hurricane surge. We're the only place growing deltas.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
You know, we're all here because of the crisis we're facing. As the rep said, you know, we've been on the job 7 months, but that doesn't matter, right? Because every day, every week, every month, when you get that bill, you got to figure out how to make it work in your budget. And we're working hard for that. I want to assure you, we are working very diligently to bring relief to Louisianans. You know, we didn't get here overnight, but just bear with me. Let's go over a couple of facts that we all know. How did we get here? Over a 12-month and 2-day period, Louisiana experienced 4 hurricanes. 2, the strongest the states, two of them were some of the strongest the state's ever experienced. Laura, Delta, Zeta, and Ida. 800,000 claims in the state of Louisiana. $24 billion paid out. 12 insurance companies went insolvent. Some of you probably had those companies, were with those companies. Over 40,000 claims went to LIGA, Louisiana Insurance Guarantee Association. Some of you may still be fighting your claim and going through that process. And then we've had over 24 companies just said, we're out, we quit. We're not going to do business in Louisiana anymore. And that's what we're fighting for, is to change the Louisiana landscape, not literally, figuratively though, from an insurance perspective, to bring companies back to Louisiana. These dozens of companies that left, it's because they can go do their business anywhere else in America. They can go write homes and autos in Texas and Florida and Mississippi and Alabama, New York and California. But we want them to come back here. And in order to do that, we need to change some of the laws and we need to change some of the regulations to make Louisiana attractive again. And a lot of the people that fought us, and the legislators that helped get this, their argument was, we just need to keep things the way they are. We need to keep things the status quo. But you and I cannot afford and wait for things to just magically get better. We have to force things. If we want companies to come back to Louisiana, we have to make changes. Some of them not popular, and I'm sure we're going to be talking about those later this evening. But I can tell you, with the support of the governor, we did get substantial, meaningful property reform done. We listened to the markets. We listened to the attorneys. We listened to the claims adjusters. We listened to all the parties that said, these are the problems that we see and these are the changes that need to be made on property. And we made a lot of those changes. And the industry is saying, we are paying attention and we will come back. They will. And like I said, we didn't get here overnight, and we're not going to get out of this overnight, but we are going to get out of it over time, and we are on that path. Right now at the Department of Insurance, we have several companies that are going through the application process. 1 or 2 or 3 companies does not solve this crisis. I understand that. But it demonstrates that we're on the right path, that we're doing what needs to be done so that next year, end of this year, next year, year after, you will have companies that want to come back and quote your home, that want to write your home, your property, your business. Florida had 1 hurricane, Hurricane Ian. They had 3 special sessions. They're about to have a 4th special session to deal with their insurance prices. Over 3 years, they had these special sessions. They're now seeing the fruits of that. 18 months or so. That's how long it started taking for the changes they made to start seeing companies come back. In Florida, there's now 12 companies that have taken a rate decrease. They were just like Louisiana. They saw year after year after year, increase, 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 increase. Florida citizens, you know, we have 130,000 or so policies in Florida citizens, in Louisiana citizens. Florida has 1.3 million policies in their citizens. But they saw increase, increase, increase. They're now seeing 12 companies have taken a decrease. Another 24 companies didn't take an increase, they just said no increase. We're just going to go flat this year. So it does work, and Louisiana is on that path. But I know that doesn't help you here today. I understand that. But we've got to start somewhere, and we have started.
How can the insurance companies charge you interest if you want to pay it about a month? A 15.24% interest? Is that legal?
Yes. So the question is, if you finance your insurance premium and pay it over months, over weeks, then how can they charge interest? Right? Well, they have to file a form with the department as far as whether we regulate the interest or not. I don't think that that's within the purview of the Department of Insurance to regulate what that interest rate is, but it's certainly something that we can look at and see whether it's something that falls on us or if it's just, you know, who has that say so. But I do know that as far as when you sign that, I mean, that information should be made available to you up front so you know what you're paying.
You're already paying a high rate, and then they want, you know, somebody to dish out 10 grand.
Right. No, I understand. Yes, ma'am. Yep. Thank you.
Are you doing anything to help veterans as well as disabled people to cap their interest rate, cap their insurance to a point that they can afford? Most of them are on a fixed income, and especially our veterans who have a hard time even finding housing.
Right. As far as insurance specifically to veterans, there has been legislation passed that does give discounts for veterans. And most recently this past session, there was additional legislation that does give discounts. But as far as capping, like at a premium level or something like that, no. And I don't know of another state that does. But look, I mean, let's have as frank a conversation as possible. If you cap it, if I cap it for you, everybody else has to pay and shoulder that in some way, shape, or form. And maybe collectively we say that's what we want to do. But we haven't had that conversation, and we haven't had that legislation brought. But again, I don't think that that's the path forward. You know, there's certainly other programs, there's subsidies that people can go and apply for to help, and then they can use that money and apply it where they think they need to best. But trying to cap a premium is, again, if that's what the society decides that's what they want to do, they have to understand that everybody has to share that burden.
Well, thank you so much for the discounts to our veterans. I know we have some here, Mr. Harding, for instance. However, what about special needs people as far as people who are homebound, others people who have disabilities? Are there any kind of discounts or any kind of legislation that applies to them?
Well, look, first, I did not, the legislation for the veterans was not, I will not take credit for that because that was not me, that was other folks that have done that in years past. So thank you for the credit, but that is not mine. I certainly think it's deserved. As far as for disabled, it's the same thing. There are no incentives, there are programs that take a particular demographic and say you do not have to pay as much, or we're going to cap what you pay on that. Like I said, that's something where if you have problems meeting the premium requirements, there are other programs out there that people can go to try and find money to help pay for that.
We are having insurance issues here, and you may bring 10 people, but if they're only going to write in North Louisiana, it doesn't help us.
Look, and the question, are these companies that come back, are they going to write south of I-10? Look, and I can tell you, if you sell a product, you want to sell a product, one, where the population is, that's south of I-10. Two, you want to sell your product where you can get the most for the product you're selling. And in Louisiana, when we're at the highest rates we've ever had, highest premiums we've ever seen, then they're certainly getting the most for their product. So I cannot regulate and tell a company that they have to write in a particular, if I do, they'll say thank you, but Texas doesn't make me do that, Mississippi doesn't make me do that, Alabama doesn't make me do that, no state makes me do that. So what we can do is encourage and promote stronger building codes, and we've talked about building more resilient homes, putting fortified roofs on, making the property more attractive so that insurance companies want to come and write. Because listen, if you live in South Louisiana, your property is going to experience hurricane winds at some point in time. And so we're trying to promote stronger building codes, more resilient properties in South Louisiana so that the companies want to come and write those stronger homes. But it does not work to tell a company you have to. Actually, it's the inverse. We want to make sure that companies don't write too much in one area because, as we saw after, especially down here in Ida, you had companies that had too much concentration. They went insolvent. They went out of business. So it's the opposite. But I understand your question.
Yeah, I do have to say our parish has been pretty strong on requirements on new constructions, and we have followed everything they have said. So we are hoping to see a difference because right now the insurance is driving people out.
In the conversations I have with insurance companies, when I travel and get in front of them, I'm telling them what we've done here in Louisiana to help promote the industry, but also what the state is doing, again, to help adopt more stringent building codes. Because, again, if you write a home, you want one that's going to be more resistant to a hurricane than one that's not. So, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, and thank you again for being with us tonight. Ag 10 that was passed allows these rates without insurance department approval.
Okay.
Can you give us what the thought process is behind that and how that looks?
Yes, ma'am, I will. And look, insurance is complex, so I apologize if we go way down the rabbit hole on all these explanations. But I'll tell you, again, before I became commissioner and then after I became commissioner, I was engaged with conversations with the insurance industry about what do we need to do to get you to come write business in Louisiana? What do we need to do to make the state more attractive? One of the things that they identified was our current rating structure. Previously to that act, in Louisiana, it was called prior approval. The insurance company had to come to the department and they said, please may we have whatever the rate was. Prior to that, 2007, there was a rating commission. It was a group of people that the insurance company had to go to and say, please may we have whatever up or down. They still had to get approval, up or down. Back in 2007, 2008, they changed it because that process had gotten too political. They weren't looking at the math. They were looking at, does it make me look good or does it make me look bad if I increase or decrease, if I allow a premium to go up or down? That's what happened. That's what the current commissioner said. That's why he wanted the change. He wanted the change because it had gotten too political. Well, then over the last 12 years, that process got too political. Insurance companies would go to the commission, go to the Department of Insurance and say, we need to have 5% rate increase. The commissioner would say, no, that's too high. I'll give you 3. They would negotiate. That's not how this process works. And so what happened? Companies started going higher. If they need 5, you ask for 7 because you're going to get told you can't get it, and you somewhere, and I think that it artificially pushed rates up.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bayou Time. I'm Martin Folsom, and a very tragic story out of Terrebonne Parish. Joining me, State Police
and Superintendent of Terrebonne Parish, Bubba Orgeron. Bubba, very tragic story today.
Yes.
Your thoughts on it, please.
Martin, it's devastating. Our hearts, Martin, go out to the family. Can't imagine hearing that news from their perspective. So we want them to know that we extend just heartfelt condolences, and we want them to know we're there for them. We're here for them. If there's anything we can do, we want to be there. We've reached out to the family. I haven't been able to get in touch with her, but the principal has, and she's expressed that we're here for them. So I just want them to know that it's as difficult as it is for us. I can't imagine.
Yeah, it's
where
very tough. It's a tough story all the way around. Let's join Trooper Tia Laura Vadan with Troop C. She's a public information officer. And Trooper Tia, good to see you on a very tough circumstance. If you could fill us in on the investigation, what have y'all learned so far?
Yes, so on yesterday, the 22nd of August, shortly before 4 p.m., Troop C began investigating a single vehicle crash in Montague involving a juvenile pedestrian. The crash occurred in the 500 block of Highway 665. That highway is also known as Pointe-aux-Chenes Road, and this crash claimed the life of 7-year-old Jeremiah Falgu of Montague. The preliminary investigation revealed that a 2019 Freightliner school bus was traveling south on LA 665. After activating the flashing warning lights, the school bus stopped in the 500 block to drop off children, one of those being Jeremiah Falgu. For reasons still under investigation, as the bus resumed its southbound travel, Jeremiah was struck by the bus and sustained critical injuries. He was transported to a hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. Although impairment wasn't suspected during this crash, the school bus driver voluntarily submitted to a breath test, which showed no alcohol detected. The driver of the school bus was also properly restrained and uninjured in the crash. Other passengers on the bus were also uninjured, and this crash, of course, remains under investigation by troopers.
Yeah, Trooper Tia, let me ask you this. It's just tragic all the way around. It's very tough covering just general tragic stories, but when it involves a 7-year-old, I'm sure troopers go through the same mourning process as we do here.
Absolutely, and troopers have to respond to these scenes, and just like what was mentioned for the family, we do provide those same resources for troopers that respond to these tragic scenes and have to investigate these scenes to provide the best information for the family.
And let me go back to Superintendent Bubba Orgeron. And y'all have released also things on social media, and y'all are reaching out. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's communication with teachers and all, because as we know in social media, it can go from A to Z.
That's right.
Real quick. Mm-hmm. I'm sure y'all are handling that, aren't you?
We're trying to give as much information as possible without getting caught up in a lot of things that are maybe not true, because I've heard a lot of them so far. One being that the driver had a heart attack. That's not accurate. He's struggling.
Yeah.
But he's still here. We also we sent several of our licensed professional counselors to the school. Kids are young, third grade kids, and they're not sure how to process what they may have even seen. Right. Some of them saw some parts of it.
Yeah.
So our counselors were there, letting them process, verbally, kind of where they were emotionally, and Jeremiah's teachers. They needed somebody this morning. They showed up to work today. Our people, our professional people were there to kind of just let them express where they were, just to give them some grief counseling. And we're going to continue to do that. You're going to continue to do that into next week, and until we feel that they're in a space that they're okay.
Yeah, it's hard to just fathom this. And let me go back to Trooper T, if we could. We always want to talk about safety. Y'all preach safety every single day of the week, every hour of the day. And it just, as safe as you try to be, sometimes accidents happen, but maybe you could just express to the public how safe you really need to be.
Right. Now, this is one of those unfortunate tragic events, but we always want to remind drivers to maintain safe driving behaviors. Of course, never drive impaired or fatigued, and limit those distractions, stay alert, and following all traffic laws, especially those in school zones and residential areas. And by doing those simple things, we can work together to try to prevent these tragic events from occurring again.
And welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm Martin Falls, joined once again by the superintendent of Terrebonne Parish, Mr. Bubba Orgeron. And we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about Jeremiah Falgout. Still a very tough story out of Terrebonne Parish. The young student killed in a school bus accident, and certainly it captivated late last week a lot of people in the news. So tragic on many different levels, including the family of the student, the school bus driver, and speculation and rumors circulating around Facebook. Most of our stories have been trying to set the facts straight. That's what we're going to continue to do, because just today I heard even more rumors at lunch. And when I came back to the office, I verified that they were indeed rumors. Superintendent is with us. How are you doing, Mr. Orgeron?
We're okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm. The vigil, which took place, were you able to attend the vigil?
I was, yes. And we had 8 out of 9 board members there. And we want to support the family. We want to show that it means something to us, that we're just so regretful for this event. And there's no changing what happened, but we need to support the family. Yeah. So I wanted the mom to know that. I mean, she was there. She was having a hard time at this vigil last night, and I had reached out before, and last night was the first time that I had a chance to speak with her, and I said, "Can I give you a hug?" And she allowed, and I said, "Look, we're here. If there's anything we can do, if any way we can help," and she did have a request, and I was able to meet that request, and we just want to be there for them as best we can.
But I could see you're a good guy. Your heart's going to go out when it needs to go out. And you've never been one to do things just to, sometimes being a superintendent, you got to be careful and tread on certain ground, but you've always been one to sort of just be real about.
Try and be real, yeah.
These situations. And I guess it brings me to the point where we're hearing so many rumors, we're hearing so many things that don't turn out to be true. Just at lunch today, and I told everybody at the table, you better check that, because people were talking about the fact that maybe the school bus driver had died of a heart attack this weekend. And I hadn't heard that one bit. Of course, I don't swim through Facebook a lot.
Right.
And come to find out it was a rumor. So once again, part of your job, I bet, has been to disseminate rumors and put facts to them. I guess that's part of the problem.
No doubt. So with that one in particular, today's Monday, so I reached out to him yesterday afternoon and spoke with him on the phone, and he's struggling, but he spoke with me about what had happened. He's going through it in his mind as well, and just having a hard time with it, So, but he did not have a heart attack. He's struggling, but he's okay,
This presents the problem, Bub, if I could be so bold, is that the way I was explaining it to people, you hear varying degrees of people wanting to put blame here or blame there. I'm going, that could have been your uncle driving the bus. It could have been your brother driving the bus. Could have been your dad driving the bus. Could have been your mom driving the bus. Mistakes happen. I'm not condoning the fact that maybe we could all make things safer, but I think in general, in any business, including our business, accidents will happen. We just have to learn from the accidents and try to put things in place.
That's right. That's right.
Correct that. Has that been your thinking, pretty much?
Yes, it has. And so we feel as though the protocols were in place, but a catastrophe happened. So we've got to analyze it, and assess and respond. I think there's got to be some way we respond. And when you look at this incident in particular and preventing this kind of thing from happening ever again, we're looking into, as of this morning, we met with supervisors and our risk manager and transportation department, and we're looking as soon as possible. First of all, we've got to get drivers the mental and emotional support they may need, because it's got to be tough, right? When this happens, if you're a driver, and so they're going to be on a heightened sense of just diligence and attention, but we've got to kind of maybe do some safety reviews with them. So that's going to happen as soon as possible. We're also going to look at outfitting our buses with 360-degree cameras, and there's even proximity sensors we can install, retrofit all of our fleet with those kind of things that will, in most modern cars nowadays, I mean, you won't run into the wall or a post or whatever because it'll beep.
Right.
And it's unfortunate that it takes an event to do this, but when looking at it, that may have helped.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.